Hello, everybody. Welcome back for part two with Jerry Saliba from CJ Custom Builders. I'm Scott Raffensperger. This is the Build Right Podcast. So how are you guys structured now? Your cousin and you, are you both out of the field? Or
Yeah, we're pretty much now. I've been out of the field for, it's probably been 7 or 8 years. I've been almost strictly full-time office.
do you have a location?
Yeah, we have an office in Del Mar. It's just like a kind of by appointment only office in Del Mar. And then and I kind of mix working between office. I have a home office and stuff like that. And Craig transitioned off the jobs. It's actually pretty recent. Craig is a very hands-on guy, so he has a hard time like sometimes not doing some of the stuff himself. But he's been off the jobs now for a couple years to where he's managing our guys. And because we've been able to get more into just strictly new construction, that gives the flexibility where our guys can manage 2 or 3 new construction houses spaced apart, because those punch out periods, that are like 2 or 3 months towards the end of the project and the finishing stages can kind of be offset of each other, which doesn't overwhelm us as much. When we had 2 or 3 additions going on and then a new construction house in the background, Craig had to be on the job. We didn't have enough guys to not have him hands on. But we've set it up now pretty much where he's able to oversee everything that's going on.
Right.
He's dealing with the customers on a day-to-day basis, talking to them, helping them through all their decisions and stuff. I pretty much handle all the way up to break ground. So I handle all the major material orders like windows, all their finish selections like plumbing fixtures, all that kind of stuff. And then kind of the handoff from me to him happens once we actually are going buckets and ground.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sure you've heard the term, the only ships that don't sail are partnerships, right?
Right.
How have you navigated the partnership? Has it been good for you? Has it been tough?
Yeah, it's like that's another one of those hurdles. We started a partnership in the recession of 2009. So, we're family, so that obviously helps, which although that's another stigma is don't start a business with a family member. Yeah. And we definitely had our ups and downs through the beginning stages. Like I had said before, I was less experienced than I even realized in the remodeling world, and Craig even realized. So it was definitely very frustrating for him. So it all kind of started with the frustrations of learning how to work together on a job site and me doing the things that Craig expected of me the way that he wanted them done. And, it started off with them, and then we had our hurdles, but Craig's strengths are my weaknesses and vice versa. Craig would be tortured sitting in an office. He would hate sitting behind a computer and learning technology and stuff like that. He likes being in the field and seeing progress on the jobs. And I don't like that as much. I'm a mechanical background guy. So like electrical, I like doing that. Trim is like torture to me. I hate going on a job site and running trim work and stuff. So we've always kind of balanced each other out in that sense. And because we've learned to work together, I know what bothers him. He knows what bothers me. And now maybe 10 years ago, that would have been a blow up argument. Now it's a discussion, and you just, at the end of the day, the family component, we know at the end of the day, we love each other and we're always going to be cousins. And that's most important. And we would never have let the business destroy that relationship. So I think that forced us to, be able to communicate out our issues and stuff like that and have a similar vision looking forward and the way that we operate our business and stuff like that. So, you have to work twice as hard as a partnership because you're equal partners in a business operating as a single construction company. But because we both bring value to the business, we've been able to make that work, over the years. And we have each other's backs, too. It is good to have somebody that works for the company that cares as much as you do as an owner. Because and I'm not saying our employees don't care. I love them. They definitely care about what they're doing, but nobody will ever care as much as the owners because it's their livelihood, their reputation, and everything like that is on the line for them. So having somebody to share that with, and then even when you're trying out new things, there's a component that's nice to have in the business world.
Were you guys close before this?
Yeah, we've always had a close family. Yeah. Cousins, we grew up, my grandfather had a house up on Lake George. And when we grew up, we spent time up in Lake George together, and our family's always been really tight. So we were close. And we had actually discussed kind of starting a business together at some point, even before I had gotten out of the military. And, so it was always kind of something that we discussed, and we did it.
Yeah. That's interesting. I feel like it could go either way. If you're,
100%.
You guys could have bumped heads.
We definitely had our serious arguments where it felt like, oh no, we got to part ways. And I'm sure he felt exactly the same way. But like I said, it's a communication thing, and that's also what helps. We were really good communicators with our customers, and that works in every aspect of business. At the end of the day, whether it's a family member, just strictly a business partner, customer, employees, the more you can communicate with people, the better you're going to resolve any issues that you ultimately have. And you'll learn to understand where they're coming from, and they'll understand where you're coming from. And usually an argument or disagreement is just two different versions of trying to improve your company. You just don't necessarily agree on which one's better. And then at the end of the day, you come together, and your goal never changes,
Yeah. I think if there's any industry that partnerships can really prevail, it is construction, because there's so much involved with it.
Right.
A couple friends of mine were landscapers, and they grew their business. They own gravel pits and things now. Yep. And they were brothers. They were able to just explode because they were two different personalities. One was kind of like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Downside, you need to handle twice as much work.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Otherwise, actually, you should handle 3 times as much work.
Right. Yes.
But if you're not, then it's not worth it. But I think in this industry, it can be a benefit, if anything.
Yeah, it's huge because honestly, even with our employees and stuff, you really do have to care deeply about what you're doing, because one simple mistake on a job can be really, really costly. Mm-hmm. One little issue can create a million other issues, and that can be such an expensive mistake. So you really have to have people that deeply care, and nobody cares more than the owner. Yeah. So
even from a growth standpoint, Jerry, a lot of guys start in this industry in the field.
Yep.
And work their way out of it. They start because they love to work with their hands.
Right.
They get to a certain point where they have to get into the office. Yep. And that's pulling teeth.
It is. Yeah.
I went through that.
Yep.
I'm just learning how to push through that.
Yeah.
And I'm still in the field all the time because I enjoy it. If you have those two different personalities, man, that can really set fire to things.
And it's funny. People don't realize, I came from the military. You work in teams in everything you do in the military. And now I work in solitude. And that's actually hard for me. Being in an office by myself, because we don't have an office staff. So it's me. And you work by yourself a lot, and that's tough. But I know, what needs to be done for the business. And I know I'm good at it, and knowing where to apply your skills to a business is super important for success.
Oh, yeah.
And learning how important that part is. You can't have a successful business without understanding that. And I still learn every day as I'm entering numbers into my spreadsheets and doing budgets and all of that kind of stuff. I'm still learning how to be successful in our business,
Yeah, there's so much noise today too.
Yeah.
I find I'm a team guy as well.
Yeah.
And if somebody comes in, if Kristen's working, or if I have one of our larger subs, one of the owners come in to do an estimate for me for a project, we're developing some lots up in Saratoga. We got to put roads in and do infrastructure. So I had Shane come in and sit down with me, and we went through those estimates together for the supply, or the utilities, the roads, the septics, because there's no sewer.
Yeah.
We banged everything out in like 2 hours because I got somebody with me. You're bouncing it off. If I have to sit there by myself, sometimes that takes me a little while.
Some days it's easier than others. You know, you just have those days where I'm like starting a new bid, and you know, I use Bluebeam software to do all my takeoffs and everything, which essentially like scales drawings, and it's like an electronic version of scaling drawings. And some days I'll start a new one, I'll be like, oh, just starting. It's like Groundhog Day, you know. Just another house. But then some days I'm like, oh, bing bang boom, you know. You you get into a rhythm and you get going.
But I find if you just start is the
that's it. You just gotta. I use Google. I use my Google Calendar now to set tasks, which I never was like a set a task list guy, because it is. You have to have it. You have to have like, it has to be in your line of sight. And I'm like, all right, I have to start that today. Bang, just do it, and then you'll get into that rhythm. Yeah.
I have a couple quotes on top of my legal pad that every day I rip the sheet off and I start a list. That the night before, I make a list for the following day, and I write the quotes back up top. One of them is prioritize, and the other is just start, because there's stuff that's so painstaking that you don't want to do. And it happened even when you're in the field.
100%.
You're looking at like, oh man, I got to rip this piece of sheetrock out and move this. Just start. And then you get in a rhythm, and it's not a big deal.
Just start. You have to fight my entire life I've been a procrastinator. And I don't know if it's because I always get done what needs to get done. And I don't know why I let myself wait till the last minute and get super stressed. Maybe I just naturally work better under that stressful situation. Yeah. But man, I do. I procrastinate, and it is just start.
Yeah. And then right at the end, you hyper focus and you get what should have taken 7 days done in 2 hours, right?
Yep.
Kristen wants to kill me. I do that all the time. And what frustrates her even more is she's like, you keep getting away with it. You know? She's like, how do you get away with that?
But I'm able to come in right at the finish line. Yeah. I am. But the amount of stress you let build up in yourself, because it's always on my mind. I'm like, all right, I have to do that. I have to do that. And the closer I get to knowing I won't be able to get it done, the more stressed I get. And then bam, you do. You just get like, all right, gotta do it.
I'm usually stapling the contracts together as people are walking through the door.
Oh yeah.
To me.
I'm like, or if I'm doing a Zoom meeting, I'm like finishing up verbiage on one screen as like I'm waiting for them to come in the meeting room.
It's so funny.
But maybe we just like high pressure situations, and that's what that forces us to be that way.
Yeah, I think it's being a competitor is part of it.
Yeah.
Like when the game's online, you want the ball in your hands.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm that way. And I'll take, if I miss the shot, that's on me.
Right. Yeah.
I'll take it, but if you win it and everybody's happy, that's even better. Being a competitor, you know, that's what it's.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, it's especially when those like you get these super cool custom projects. So for us, it is always something interesting, you know, and you'll get potential projects across your desk where you're like, wow, if we get to build this, that's going to be amazing. You know what I mean? So then you really get into that grind mode where you're bidding it out and you're feeling that, you know, you're competing, you know, there's other builders involved in this particular project. And you get that competition sense. We actually just lost one like 2 weeks ago. And I was like, oh man. And it was kind of like I never really got to meet with the customer. I got like one meeting with them, and then they just kind of made a decision based on, but I lost one the other day, and I don't like losing. And I was like, oh man, I can't believe I lost that project. I'm like, what did I do wrong? Like, cause you know, a lot of this stuff now, I have a lot of experience bidding and selling projects. I'm like, what could I have done differently to have landed this project?
Sometimes it's just a relationship thing.
Yeah, and it is.
Because the numbers are the numbers.
Oh yeah.
And especially in new construction, what I found is the market really determines your markup.
Yep.
Right.
It's true.
So you can't mark a house up 50%. You'll never get that house.
Right.
You have to be in line with where.
Yeah.
where the rest of the market is.
How you mesh with your customers is everything. And actually, if I meet with a customer the very first time, I like to just have like a conversation with them like you and I are having right now, because, you want to make sure you're going to get along, and certain personalities match and certain don't. And if I meet with a customer who's talking to a couple builders, I tell them that straight up. I'm like, listen, one of the most important parts of selecting your builder is who you can have a good working relationship with, and who you at the end of the day feel most comfortable with building. And that might not be me. It might be another builder you're working with. But if you pick a builder just strictly based on numbers or this component or that component, you could be making a big mistake, because you do not want to have, it's a long-term relationship. Building a house is just like a long-term relationship. You're going to have your bumps in the road. There's no way to avoid it. No project goes perfectly from start to finish. It's how you can communicate through those issues. And if you select somebody you already off the bat don't really get along with, that's just going to make it a million times worse.
Yeah.
You want to be friends with your builder by the end of the project. You don't want to be enemies, And
transparency is huge. And we always tell people the hard conversations are the good ones,
Yep.
Like, if you have a problem with me, tell me.
Yep.
I want to know. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I've probably heard it before.
Right.
And I probably messed up whatever is on your mind before. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
And if you should expect the same thing from me.
Right.
If something's going to cost more, or if I have an issue with something, I'm going to tell you.
Yep.
And people respect that.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're not always the easiest conversations to have, but they need to be had. And yes, in the end, that both customer and contractor are going to be a million times happier with everything, that they've just been through.
Yeah.
Well, the roller coaster.
Yeah. And on my end, when I'm talking to people, I have to relay to them that, yes, I'm a business owner now, but I am a construction worker. So I'm a little rough around the edges.
Right.
You gotta, take it. I'm going to be direct with my delivery.
I'm a handshake guy, you know. I hate contracts. I know we have to have them. I could build something on a handshake, but I know you just can't do that this day and age, I'm old school. I think people like to see that in their builder.
100%. Yeah. And if I could I'm the same way. If I could do handshake builds, I would do them all day long. Right. I hate dealing with the contracts, and contracts make people nervous, right?
Right.
So ours are written pretty lenient, help both sides.
Yep.
But somebody reads it, there's all this legal jargon in it. Then they want to send it to their lawyer, and then it's like, all right, let the games begin. It's gonna take weeks before we settle this thing, because they want to add tidbits, and this one wants to take away. Yeah. So it would be much easier on a handshake.
So much. And the funny thing, I wrote my contract, like when we started our business, I just wrote a contract. I had never written a contract before.
Yeah.
And it has like the difference between day one contract and today's contract, and every single thing in it that doesn't seem like, somebody might be like, you really had to write that in there. And I'm like, that's from an experience that we had with a customer, that I have to say those things. And then, yes, you get to the end of the legal stuff and you're like, you hate reading through that stuff, but it's a part of it. It exists in almost all contracts.
I had a conversation with my lawyer when I had first met him years and years and years ago. I had an issue with a customer. It was really the only issue I've ever had.
Yep.
But they happen, right?
Yeah.
He asked for my contract. I showed him, and he's looking at it. I'll never forget it. He goes, "Did you write this with a crayon?" I'm like, what do you mean? So from that point forward, we rewrote it, and it's every year it changes. We rework it a little bit, and it gets tweaked. But I'll never forget. Would you write this with a crayon? I'm like, oh man.
I actually had a line in mine. Contractor will complete all work to the highest quality of craftsmanship or something. We had an issue once, and our lawyer their lawyer challenged it, and my lawyer looked at it, and he's like, yeah, you can't put that. That's like vague, because their lawyer was like, what is the measure of high quality?
Oh my
and I'm
gosh.
like, it's really just in there because we do quality work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just want people to know we're definitely going to do high quality work for you.
Yeah.
Can't put that in the contract.
I want to build you a beautiful house.
Yeah.
That's why it's in there. Yeah.
I think I had one line. It was like, in timely fashion or something. And timely is not a measure of time. You can't just have a arbitrary timely manner.
Yeah.
So it is funny, but yes, at the end of the day, I would like to just reach across the table and be like, this is what we're going to do for you. And we're going to do it the best we can.
Yeah. And there's a lot of times throughout the project where things don't go as planned. So they're going to come in and you're going to resolve issues or say, hey, this room didn't turn out exactly like we thought it would when we looked on the plans. Do you want to move this here? You want to bump this there?
Yeah. And we do that a lot.
That's part of a custom build.
That's part of a custom build. And I actually, in the beginning, I make sure people understand that. Like change orders, we're not a line item change order kind of company. I do not like a million line items for like $100 here or a hour or two labor hour there. When we do change orders, we just like to bring the customer on site, talk about everything they might want to change, and just kind of, this is the price to do that change, one full on change order for the customer. But yeah, so I lost my train of thought on that one, but
no, just change orders and walking through a house with a customer.
Yeah.
You're saying you like to lump them. I agree with that. And also I factor in a little bit just for like, if you want to
That's actually where I was going. Yeah. I'm like, if we're going to just change a closet to a bigger closet or something like that, like there's not going to be.
You want an extra outlet.
Yep.
Yes. My electrician is going to charge me X, but I figured in a few $100. So we can move stuff.
Yep.
If you want to. That's the way we like it.
You got to do that in the custom world because it's always good. The walkthrough is always going to have, hey, can we tweak this, tweak that? Because it's hard for a lot of people to like look at a set of plans and get a sense for size of room and things like that. Even sometimes when I look at a set of plans and then we start framing up, I'm like, oh, this room is smaller than I thought or bigger than I thought.
Yeah. So what's the future look like for you guys? Do you have any plan, 5, 10 year, 20 year?
Honestly, I think we kind of like found our lane. You know what I mean? Unless if there was just like an abundance of high quality carpenters out there that we could bring on the team, I would say we're going to just keep expanding and stuff. I think right now with the market the way it is, we're going to kind of feel out what this gas ban does and everything like that and continue to chip when we do 2 or 3 houses a year and stuff, which we're able to maintain that pretty well with the team that we have. And then maybe as we see what the market does, we'll start to think about potentially bringing in somebody who does a little bit more design work and things like that. It would have always, honestly, I look back and, you always think about your mistakes and what you wish you had done a little bit differently. And I do wish we had brought somebody into the office a little bit earlier. Craig and I's 2 of our biggest downfalls is the ability to delegate, your own tasks because you think you know that you do your tasks better than anybody else could possibly do them. That's just the way you think as a business owner. And I wish we had brought somebody on to be able to delegate some of that out. So as I look at mistakes I feel like we've made in the past, improving upon or maybe starting to do that moving forward would be our goal for the company. But it's tough when you have this big regulation pile coming at you from New York State. You want to be careful to watch the market and make sure, that you've got the work that you need for all of your guys and, stuff like that. So
it's disheartening a little bit when you want to grow.
Yeah.
And you can't find good help.
Right. That is the hardest part of owning a business. The employee side of owning a business is the hardest part of owning a business. And it's costly even to hire somebody to find out they're not what they said they were, or the no-shows and the money spent trying to find the guys and stuff like that. It's definitely the hardest component. And there was a time when we had 7 or 8 guys, lots of projects running, and the stress, the more you have going on, the higher the stress level. And like I said before, we kind of found our lane. So it is frustrating because, the work's out there. I could have a team of 15 guys if I wanted to and have enough work to come in, but Is that more will that make our quality suffer and things like that? We want to we're in a good lane where we maintain our quality, our customer relationships and everything like that. And we're willing to be patient to find, some days somebody will maybe come along that wants to be a part of the company because we're a good company. We treat our guys well. And if that happens, then we will expand accordingly,
Yeah. And when you're structured the way you are, you can't, like when I was framing, I grabbed someone at Stewart's to come stand walls with me. It was like, I don't care who you are. We need bodies.
When you're in a high volume,
In this, custom building and remodeling, you need thoroughbreds, not donkeys.
It's not even how good of a carpenter or great of a carpenter they are. They also have to have good people skills and stuff like that. When you're dealing with $1 million, $2 million homes, you've got to present well for the company and everything. You can't have the guy who's swearing every million times every other sentence. So.
Yeah, we've had a hard time with it, and I think all companies have really, and not just construction.
Yeah,
but I'm willing to wait now. At least if I want to grow a business to $100 million, then I have to sit in a different vehicle.
Right.
This isn't the one for that.
Yeah.
In this area. So
yeah, it's part of that learning curve. There was, you're super aggressive when you're a young company thinking, hey, take on more, add guys. And at some point you realize the workload goes up, the stress goes up, and the profit margins don't go up that much. So you learn from that experience, and then you find kind of that efficiency point. Because in the construction world, this, if you have a team of 3 or 4 guys, you hit a point where you just can't take anything else on. So the money coming in is the money coming in. And the only way to take the next step is you almost have to double your team. Because if you're going to add more projects, you need another carpenter, another foreman. Right. It's not like you can just hire one guy and take on 2 extra projects running simultaneously. When you hire guys, they're expensive in our industry to hire guys, and you've got to take in a lot more money to add every new foreman level guy.
Yeah. One of the hard mentalities for us is realizing you're going to take that hit in your margins when you're filling your supply lines to expand.
Right.
So you're going to have to decide, when am I ready to expand? Okay. Yep. Yes, that's now. Now I got to bring guys in.
Yep.
I'm going to push them on jobs that are already staffed properly, because they have to do something while they're with you. And there's a lag, right?
Oh, yeah.
You got 2-3 months lag where you're paying these guys.
Oh, yeah. Payroll's going out, and you're like...
And that comes right off your bottom line for the end of the year.
Yep.
So it's, instead of investing in a piece of land, investing in the stock market, you're investing in guys.
People.
And the hardest part of that is they might not last.
Right.
So you're rolling dice on guys.
Yeah, and it takes a while to realize whether they're going to last or not, or that their skill level is up to your standards, or that you don't have to have one of your other guys occupying all of his time looking over their shoulder or training them. All of that takes a long time and is a huge investment to make, to ultimately never know if they're going to be the guy that's with you 5-10 years,
When I first started, I had guys that stayed with me for a long time.
Yeah.
Guys that came on that had never used a skill saw before.
Yeah.
And I taught them and grew them, and those became the best guys I ever had.
Yeah.
And then they eventually left and went on their own.
That's exactly what happens. All of our best employees that probably, if they'd stayed with us today, would be running the office, and I'd be able to be out doing bigger, better things to expand the company. Those guys all left to start their own company, and they're all successful. Of course they were going to be successful. So you're fighting that, because at some point they don't need you anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're going to go on to better themselves. So it's tough. The trades industry, the guys that work in the trades are becoming the elite, because there's not as many kids coming out of school who want to go into labor jobs, especially with technology jobs out there and stuff. So it's a smaller pool of laborers or people who love doing hands-on type work.
Yeah, I think there is a point too where when you go on your own, that might last a few years until the lights start to dim a little bit.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, this isn't as great as I thought it was going to be. I got to work a lot harder to make the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Especially with some guys starting in six figures now with PMs and job supers. Like, if you want to go make six figures on your own, when you're starting, you're going to be working 7 days a week, 80-hour weeks, and you might not even make $100,000.
Right.
Yeah, you're doing it for yourself, but you're going to see the benefits 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys aren't willing to wait that long.
Yeah, no, that is true. I've actually had one in particular, every now and then he'd call me for some advice. And of course I'm going to give it. I'm not upset.
Come back.
Yeah, I would never do that. I want everybody to better themselves. I'm an entrepreneur, so, so I'll give like as much advice as I can. And I'm just like, don't do this, don't do that. I did this, I did that. Know a lot of the mistakes and stuff that happen, but it is a grind. There are times over the years we've always, we've always had work to show up to, but that doesn't always mean we were making a ton of money, or there was years where it felt like we spent way too much money thinking we were growing the business, and you're like, I should have maintained that money. Mm-hmm. So you learn a lot, and those mistakes though, you have the sleepless nights, you have the sleepless nights where you're thinking about it as the owner, you're thinking about a million different things, and it's stressful. So you pay a price to own your own construction company, but then the reward of the work you get to show to people.
Yeah. And there is no balance.
Nope.
There is no work-life balance, at least for me. And there never will be. No. I talk about it sometimes with some of my buddies, like, hey, I'm trying to figure this out. And then I'm like, what the heck am I? There is nothing. It's just all or nothing is what it is.
Yeah.
And the newest thing for me is wherever I am, I'm trying to be there 100%.
Right.
So we have 4 kids, that.
Yep.
If I'm with them, I have to be with them 100%. If I'm on a date with Kristen, I have to be there 100%, which can be hard because
it's really hard.
And we work together too. So that's another thing where a lot of our relationship is based on growing this together.
Yep.
But being present 100% and where you are is like,
no,
huge.
It's a real challenge, because you can even be practicing that, and one text message, looking at one text message or if I'm at night and I actually try to make a point not to look at my email after 5:00. The workday is done, because you'll get that either a customer email or some email late night that you'll pop open, and you're like, it's all you can think about for the rest of the night. It's really hard to practice, because one text message, one email, one this can completely consume your entire train of thought.
I've had somebody this year call me. This is a new customer, somebody I never worked with before, but they wanted us to do a project for them. They called me. I didn't answer. And left a voicemail, and then sent me a long text message on Father's Day.
Oh.
I'm like, all right, weekend's one thing. We try and make a distinction there. And it's not because I don't work the weekends, Jerry. It's because that's my time to catch up.
Yeah.
Like, and then Sunday is like a big no-no. And then you made it, and then it was a holiday. I'm like, this is a triple hit.
Yeah. And it was probably something unimportant, right? It was probably something that could have waited.
Oh, yeah. Well, we didn't get out there to meet for 2 weeks.
Right.
Like, we scheduled a meeting that next week.
Yeah.
And it was 2 weeks from them. It's like, that couldn't have waited till Monday?
Yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah, no, I know.
It's mind-blowing.
I think the boundaries, because of technology, and we do a lot of our communicating through phones and stuff, back in our day, you didn't call around dinner time. Like, after dinner time, was like, you do not call somebody's house unless it's an emergency after dinner time. But now, because it's so easy for people to shoot texts and emails around, that boundary has like gone away. And I understand if there's an emergency, fine. But it is. It's if you're trying to be present with the people that you love and your family and friends, and it is. I have to like intentionally sometimes avoid my phone, any like text message, because it is all it takes is one little seed of something going on the next day, or a mistake or an issue that it consumes your whole train of thought.
Well, then you're in the office till 11.
Yeah.
Because you jump in there. I do that quite often.
Yeah.
I try to keep that 100%. Yeah. The other thing that I had to do with my mind is realize I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy working. Like you shouldn't fight that.
Right.
Just because I don't, golf every Saturday, and I love golfing, but I'm not doing it every Saturday and Sunday because I don't like it as much as I do running the business.
Yeah.
So I will work on the weekend because it's something I still enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you forget. I think that like starts to happen with age. The first probably 7-8 years of us being in business, I was stress-free. Even though I was dealing with stressful situations, it never really like weighed on me. I think the older you get worse at dealing with that. You know what I mean? And then you do start to forget why you own your own business and the parts of it that you do enjoy and the end product and the happy customers and stuff. You forget that you have to remember all of that stuff because you start to handle the stress a little bit differently. You know what I mean?
Well, the stakes get higher.
True. That is a big one. Yeah. You forget to factor that in.
Yeah, and families is part of it too. Now you've got people relying on you. When I started off and I was 22, 23 years old, I mean, I had a pickup truck and a blanket. That was all I owned,
Yeah.
I had a toolbox in the back that every tool I owned was in there. We did every job. So I was stress free because I was
that is actually
a gypsy, basically.
That's so true. Yeah, my cousin Craig, if one was watching this live, would probably be like, "Yeah, you were in your 20s still with a roommate partying when we started our business. I had a newborn at home, and I'm like super stressed out, and you're like." Oh, what are you stressing about?
Yeah, you were going to concerts at night. You showed up in the morning.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, Jerry, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, it was great to be here.
We're out of time. I'm sure we could go on for another hour.
Oh, yeah.
I'll have you back on. We didn't even touch half the topics I wanted to go over, but this is a great introduction to who you are, what you do. If people want to find you, where do they go?
So they can find our website at cjbuildersinc.com. Probably the best place to look up our information and reach out. Offices in Del Mar, and all the information's on the internet.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure to like us, follow us, share us. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or any of the major providers. Again, Jerry, thank you for coming.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on. This was fun.
Yeah, we'll do it again. I'm your host, Scott Raffensperger. Have a great day.